So ever wonder how Warren Buffett became like this financial titan? We're going deep on that today. Yeah, diving into Warren Buffett's world. We're drawing insights from this big company YouTube video, how Warren Buffett made his fortune from, get this, peddling Coca-Cola as a kid to, leading a $1 billion empire. Well, Buffett's journey is more than just rags to riches, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's like a masterclass,
Yeah.
really, in long-term thinking and, that's right, value investing. And we're going to uncover all of it, the strategies, the influences, everything that made Buffett the Oracle of Omaha. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the video, it really highlights how the Great Depression really shaped, like, young Warren Buffett, you know? It's one of those things that's easy to overlook, but think about it. You're a kid, the whole financial world is, like, crumbling.
Totally. It's huge, that experience. Total crash course in risk and resilience. And get this, Buffett's dad, a stockbroker, loses his job in the crash, right? But instead of, giving up, he pivots, starts his own business, even brings young Warren to client meetings.
Talk about real-world education, right? But buying stock at 11 years old, that's next level. It speaks to, like, this early awareness of the market. But what gets me is that first stock purchase, City Service. It wasn't just, like, a random, impulsive kid thing.
No way. We're talking meticulous research here. Buffett's poring over his dad's stock manuals. He even calculated, get this, the company's worth, all based on its tangible assets. This wasn't some kid chasing, a quick buck. He was thinking about intrinsic value already. That concept, that's like the foundation of his whole investing philosophy.
It's like he was, like, hardwiring those principles from day one. And yeah, he rode that City Service investment to a profit, which, okay, impressive. But he also learned something when those shares, like, skyrocketed after he sold. Patience. It's a process, even for, someone like Buffett.
Speaking of learning by doing, those pinball machines, tell me more about that, about Buffett's entrepreneurial spirit, even as a teenager. Oh, even back then, total natural. Always had this knack for spotting opportunities, But even more important, he understood cash flow. Buying a used pinball machine with a friend, sticking it in a barbershop. That's like entrepreneurship 101. But here's the real genius. They used the profits to buy more machines. They expanded the whole operation, just like that.
That's incredible. He just, like, got it. The snowball effect of reinvesting profits, it's a strategy he'd use later on, obviously, much larger scale with Berkshire Hathaway. But before we get there, what about, like, his purchase of farmland at 15? That's not your typical, teenage investment. What was he thinking there?
Okay, so this is where you see Buffett's long-term vision and his understanding of assets, like tangible assets all coming together. It was post-World War II, right? Economic boom. And Buffett, he recognized the value of land, its income potential, its resilience against inflation. It was a strategic acquisition. This wasn't some, spur-of-the-moment thing.
It really shows, like, his ability to see the big picture, the small picture, all of it, even as a teenager. But while those ventures, those were huge, we can't forget about Benjamin Graham, right?
Yeah.
Buffett's mentor at Columbia Business School. Huge influence.
Oh, without a doubt. Graham's book, The Intelligent Investor, that was Buffett's Bible, value investing, seeking out those undervalued companies. But, and this is important, Buffett wasn't just, blindly following. He was innovating too.
So he took those principles and, like, made them his own. How so?
Okay, so Buffett looked beyond just the numbers, right? He knew that a company's management, its competitive advantage, what he'd later call its economic moat, those were just as important for long-term potential.
Economic moat. Now, that's an interesting term. Before we get into that, let's talk Berkshire Hathaway. Things get really interesting here. He takes over this struggling textile company and, well, the rest is history.
Classic Buffett, right? Sees potential where everyone else just sees failure. But Berkshire Hathaway, it wasn't about textiles for him, not really. It was a vehicle, a platform to use his investment strategies on a massive scale. And this is key. It shows he's willing to adapt, to evolve.
Berkshire Hathaway, wow, talk about a transformation. But okay, before we go too far, let's go back to that term you used, economic moat. Sounds kind of medieval, but in business, what's that even mean?
It's a great way to think about it, though, right?
Yeah.
Imagine like a castle, right? Thick walls, totally protected, keeps out the competition. You apply that to a business, and boom. That's what Buffett looks for, those companies that have this like built-in advantage, something that's hard to copy.
Yeah.
Gives them a real edge long-term.
So it's about finding the businesses that aren't just like a flash in the pan, but have that staying power, something that makes them like built to last.
Yeah, exactly. Think about like Coca-Cola. Everyone on the planet knows their brand. They've got that secret formula, right? That's a serious moat. Or Amazon. Think about them, their prime thing. It's become so essential how people shop online, right? Huge barrier for any competition. Those are like textbook economic moats.
Makes you think about, like, how many moats we're interacting with every day and don't even realize it, right? But shifting gears a little, the video talks about Buffett getting into insurance. Seems like a weird fit with his whole investing style. How did that even become, like, a core part of his strategy?
It's brilliant though, right? Totally unexpected. See, insurance companies, they collect those premiums up front, but they only pay out if something happens, right? So you get this huge pool of money. They call it the float. It's just sitting there, basically belongs to the company until they have to pay out claims.
So it's like they've got this pile of money they can use while they wait for those claims.
You got it. And that's what Buffett saw. Instead of letting it sit there, he invested it. Strategically, of course. Those undervalued companies, the ones with strong moats, it's like a double win. Returns on those premiums and the investments made with that float money.
Like a money-making machine. But with all this talk about strategy, what about Buffett himself? The video mentions his quote, "Be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful." What does that tell us about how he thinks?
Oh man, that quote, that's Buffett in a nutshell. Total contrarian, right? It's about like not following the herd, not getting swept up in the hype, when everyone's freaking out, selling everything. That's when Buffett sees opportunity. And the opposite too, when the market's going crazy, he's careful. Always remembers that bubble can burst.
Discipline. That's the key. Being able to think clearly when everyone else is losing it. Easier said than done.
Oh, for sure. It takes a lot of research, knowing those company fundamentals inside and out.
Yeah.
And you got to trust your gut, your analysis. And don't forget Buffett. He didn't become a billionaire overnight. It was slow, steady, built on patience, discipline, always thinking long term.
It's that long game, right?
Yeah.
That commitment, that like the fundamentals. That's what makes Buffett different. It's not about chasing the latest, hot stock tip or whatever. It's about understanding value, growth, the things that last.
And tuning out all the noise.
Yeah.
Right? Think about it, Buffett, he made his fortune before the internet, before we had like 24/7 news and everything. He wasn't glued to, every little market update, every opinion piece. That focus, being able to just block it all out, man, that's more important than ever today, right? With how crazy connected everything is.
Makes you think, like, the best investors, they're not just good with money, they're good with their own, like, mindset,
Yeah.
They can resist those impulses that can cost you big time.
Oh, absolutely. And that brings up another interesting thing about Buffett, his frugality. I mean, this is a guy who could buy anything, right? But he lives pretty simply. Drives the same car forever, has that same breakfast every day.
It's a good reminder. Wealth, real wealth, it's not about, like, how much you spend, right? It's about having the freedom to live how you want.
Exactly. And for Buffett, that freedom, it goes way beyond just him. The guy's philanthropy, off the charts. He's giving most of his money away, wants to tackle those big global problems.
That's powerful stuff. Aligning your money with your values, using what you have to, like, make a real difference.
Says a lot about him, don't you think?
For sure. So as we wrap up this deep dive into, like, the world of Warren Buffett, one thing's clear. His story, it's way bigger than just money.
It's proof that patience, discipline, truly understanding not just the market but yourself, that's where the real power is.
And we may not all be billionaires, right? But those principles, that value investing, thinking long term, staying true to yourself, that's stuff we can all learn from, use in our own lives,
Totally. And honestly, we've only scratched the surface here. There's so much more to learn from Buffett, from his life, how he invests. If this got you thinking, definitely check out his writing, his interviews, all of that. You might be surprised what you find.
Yeah, you might even find, like, your inner investor. Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring. And hey, remember, sometimes the best investment you can make is in yourself.